Happy Saturday.
Happy
Today's date is
Saturday.
officially another day past yesterday. So, welcome to the Extraordinary Man Podcast. I am your host, Mike Jones or Phil Jones, however you know me personally or professionally. Today on our panel, we have the one, the only.
Michael
Introduce yourself.
Midas Merritt. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this fine Saturday morning. And boy, do we got a topic for y'all. Let's
So,
get it.
today we are going to have a conversation about something I think that is so vitally important, and I believe that most people would think that it's vitally important if they really take the time to evaluate how much of their time they have wasted on things, on people, on ideas that don't bear fruit. And in these circumstances, what we're going to talk about is a variance of several of these different options. Any level of crowd participation is always welcome as we start to introduce the chat overlay into our cipher. As you always know, we try to read from our chats when you come in. So as you guys see fit for commenting, we shall comment. But what are we wasting our time on today, brother? Or what are we encouraging people to not waste their time on today?
We're encouraging people to not waste time on becoming extraordinary, first and foremost. We're encouraging people not to waste time on doing what it is you need to do, whether it be getting that degree that you always been wanting, whether it be getting that promotion that you always been wanting, whether it be going after any dream, any goal, whatever you got going on. You want to be that actor, get your ass out there and go act. Start finding roles that you can get into, whether you starting as an extra or whether you auditioning for a lead character, it don't matter. Get up off your ass and get moving.
So with this, one of the biggest things is, and I mean, we can just go stories for days, for days, for days about different investments that we made in people, different investments that we made in finance, different investments that we've made that we wanted to believe that they had some substantial nature to them, and then ultimately just turned out to be exactly what they were, which was just a big waste of time.
Hmm.
So if I have to talk about said any one situation, let's talk about it. Give me a situation and give me your understanding of it from the mind of somebody in your age and how much different it is from the time that you were experiencing.
Okay, so I think the easiest thing that we can tackle in that particular area for everybody to understand, because a lot of people out here now are going through particular situations, is wasting time and investments in a significant other. You
Mm.
yes, you're trying to build a life, trying to build a family, trying to build legacies, and it is just turning out to be a total complete waste. It's more headache and heartache than it is advancements and movement towards a common goal that you guys have sat down and came to an agreement on. I think that's a really huge one.
First and foremost, brief caveat. I would like to say to my brother, A Town Anthony Carter, happy
Hey,
birthday to you, young man.
man, happy
Anybody
born
watching this,
day,
make sure
man.
y'all wish my man Anthony a happy born day. Welcome to a tad bit older, but not quite as old as me.
Happy birthday, brother. Hope you doing well.
Relentless Mikey, good morning,
Morning.
good
Good
morning.
morning, Mikey.
Hey, you know, one thing that I would definitely like to say, if I can't say anything else, man, is the fact that I feel, miss you too, brother. I feel that when it comes down to the concept of relationships, I think one of the biggest things is the fact that you can hone in on very specific things about relationships. I think that there's two things that people don't do when it comes down to relationships. Number one is that they walk into the table or they walk into the situation under the pretense or the guise that things should work a certain way, but it's not adequately thought out and discussed prior to getting into that relationship and or advancing in that relationship. Number
Hmm.
two, I think that people forget that we evolve as people. So you got to come back to that table and you have to reintroduce this version of you that's here so that you and that significant other can stay current on what's going on in that relationship. Because just
Boom.
like you have new experiences and you have new ideas, you have new things that you desire, so do they. And a lot of times it becomes a tug of war because now I'm moving in this direction and they might be complacent. They might be comfortable with the way things are, or they're moving in a direction and you're moving in a direction, and y'all are moving in opposite directions. They're not moving together or finding out how y'all two things can merge and meld into something that's usable for the entire unit. And then now it becomes a you're taking me away from what I love, and I'm taking you away from you. It,
Right.
it becomes
Right.
it, it becomes this misunderstanding. And I think that a lot of time is spent and wasted on trying to fight over the nuances rather than sitting down and saying, okay, you do this, I do this. You're into this, I'm into this. How do we make that work and weave that into this?
I mean, and I'm not highly gospel or anything like that, but I definitely do believe in evenly yoked. And to your point, Mike, that over time, like that that person that you met, 10, 15, 20 years ago is not going to be that same person today. I have whole different ideas, or she'll have whole different ideas, whole different outlook on life. Complacency, yeah, that's a real big one. And I think that we do need to come back to that table and be like, hey, look, uh, I'm trying to do this now. I'm into real estate now. I want to get a property by the end of the year. I want to start building our investment portfolio. Let's take a look at QQQ. Let's take a look at VOO. Let's take a look at SYP or the SPY. Let's start looking at all this stuff, and then it comes to a point where I think that the other person, and I think this is the biggest part of why people grow apart, is because the other person is unwilling to learn the other person, or vice versa. Like every single day is supposed to be a learning process, and the other person is willing to learn what the other person is into now, or gravitating towards, and is unwilling to change. And when everything I get up, I go to work, I come home, I cook dinner, I wash clothes, take care of the kids, and I'm chilling. And some people are fine with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that works for you, fantastic. But you got to understand what is and isn't working for the person that you with, and you guys have to come together and come to an agreement, a consensus. Now, as far as I think people don't stay true to themselves, Mikey, I think they do. I think people do. I think what people don't do is they don't open a mouth about it. I think they just roll with the punches instead of just being forthcoming about it. The
Well,
people are gonna go ahead.
to his point, that's basically a lie by omission. Only until I got into a serious relationship that I learned about what the concept of a lie by omission was. That a lie by omission is you not being forthcoming and you feeling something and not speaking on it, or you
Right,
doing something and not talking about it.
right.
You and then it's like, how many times have we went to a woman and said, "Hey, I'm noticing you're not yourself. Is everything okay?" "Oh, I'm fine." She lying, bald face. A lot of times that not bringing it to the forefront could be to try to spare an argument. It could
Hmm.
be, I understand that you under a lot of stress, so I'm not trying to dump my stress off on you because I know what you're going through. It could be an aspect of respect involved in the reason why she doesn't or he doesn't, but it's still not bringing the issue to the forefront. So I absolutely agree that it's not being true to yourself. Because if I have to suppress me, which there is a certain time to where you got to pick and choose what makes it to the forefront. But that doesn't mean that it's completely ignored 110%. That just means that I choose a better time. And again, those are things that you learn over time. If you guys hear any construction going on in my background, just ignore it. There's things going on. I live in an apartment. Those type of things happen throughout this time of the year.
Oh, that's cool. It's all good. It's not irritating. It's good.
Okay. It's just the saw is like right here in my ear, like they doing it to me. But no, so I don't understand my relationship until I stepped back and looked at 40,000 feet view of our marriage. Then I understood. I mean, that's basically the out of the box. You had to step outside of the box to look back into the box to take a look and see what it actually was. Because
Right.
when you're right here inside of the enclosed space, of course it's gonna look away. But when you step outside and you look at the whole picture and see how it ties in, it always shows a different picture. And a lot of times it's not a pretty one.
I mean, it may not be. I mean, a lot of times, but a lot of situations get fixed because you decide to take yourself out of the box and spin the box, look around the box. Say we need some more wood planks over here. We need a new hinge here. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we can touch up the paint here, and then you go back into the box, and then your whole relationship becomes a whole different dynamic because you guys took the time to really thoroughly sit down and talk and understand each other and realize the direction that y'all want to go, or that the direction that works best for y'all. So looking at it, the box should be on both sides, and everybody should be willing. Well, both parties should be willing to fix the box so that it stays sturdy.
Well, safe to say, biblically speaking, it states that when a man and woman come together, that they should be forming as one. So that I would like to say that that should go without say, but I think that that's one of the few principles that's misunderstood. That we do spend a lot of time wasted trying to prove or trying to be right rather than to find the peaceful resolution. It's like I'm so hell bent on proving my point that I'll be willing to destroy the fabric of my relationship just to be right. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest things. And then on the flip side of that is that I'm willing to destroy myself for peace. So I'll suppress
Totally
me.
backwards.
You said what?
That's totally backwards, but
It
it's
is.
true.
It is. Basically, what it's saying is that it's a detriment on both sides of the extreme. That on this
Hmm.
side, where I try to prove my point too much, that means you're not listening. You care
Right,
more about being right, so you don't hear them. You just care about winning. Then
right.
on this side, so the begs the question is pride toxic? No. Principles are rooted in pride.
So are morals, principles, and morals.
Your principles, your morals, the things that you stand on, the things that you stand for are rooted in your pride. Because you're not proud of what it is that you do or proud of what you do it for, there's no reason to do it.
Right.
Now, when people use the word pride, they use the word pride in a sense of, I think they use it when they talk about the most elevated aspects of pride, where you too stuck in your ways to listen or to hear what somebody else has to say because I'm standing on this one thing. And you have to understand that life is not one way. That, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I believe in what I believe in. So if I come up and I pull my Bible out and I say, I stand by the word of God, the Christian Bible as the living testament, that don't mean that every Muslim or Buddhist or Hindi that walks my way, that I smack them with my Bible and I tell them how they going to hell because I believe something contrary to what they believe. I think that that's more so along the lines of I'm too proud to open up to see the world from a different point of view or to allow myself to learn. That's more like a closed fist. Nothing comes out, nothing gets in.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, really, really think that way and live that way. Like my way is the only way. My way is the only way to salvation. My way is the only way to heaven. And I don't see anything very holy, you know what I'm saying? If we go on that route, I don't see nothing holy about that, especially when apparently he's supposed to have, saying multiple names and different languages and all this other stuff going on. Like who's to say that what you believe in ain't really this what I believe in too? Like it's the same thing. It's just a different spin on it. Like there's multiple different flavors of Kool-Aid. You got grape, you got strawberry, you got cherry, you got limeade, you got all different types of Kool-Aid, bro. There's more than one way to drink Kool-Aid. The moral of the story is it doesn't matter who gives you the message, did you get the message?
You know, in many of these situations, I look at the opportunities that we're given as a gateway to see the world from our experiences and from the experiences of others. We don't know the nuances of every battle that Napoleon experienced.
Mikey is funny. All right, so toxic, pride, toxic. I don't know.
Well,
Yes
we
and no.
say it can be anything anything that is in the excess can be at your detriment. So too much water can cause you to hemorrhage. Too much food. I mean, we think we already know.
Mhm.
An excess of anything, like there's nothing that you can have in excess that's ever a good thing.
I
Now, when
think
we
that
say no, there's only grape, we know. Okay,
yeah, that's what I was laughing at.
I,
But
I see. I see what you
I
did there.
think pride becomes toxic when you're allowing your pride to keep you from being able to be helped and you need it. When you know what I'm saying, we when now that in a particular sense, that's what toxic masculinity comes into play. You too manly, you too proud, but your mortgage is due tomorrow and you have zero clue on how you gonna get it, and you too prideful to reach out to somebody for help. I think that's when it becomes toxic. You just don't know when enough is enough. You know what I'm saying? You need to know your limits, and you need to know when you cannot over leverage yourself. I think that's when it becomes toxic in that sense. Other than that, pride. You think Van Gogh wasn't prideful of his art? You think Jay Z isn't prideful of his music? You think Phil Jones isn't prideful that he's producing these podcasts? I mean, come on. Pride is what Pride is the reason we have skyscrapers. Pride is the reason we have the internet. Pride is the reason that I got this camera and I'm talking to you right now and I got this microphone. That all came from pride. So you're right. It depends on its application.
You know, like most things in the relationship sphere and like keeping the conversation moving forward. One thing that I do think is that when it comes down to time wasting, I think that a lot of the times that the biggest time wasters in a relationship setting is the fact that we don't look at the large picture enough.
Hmm.
That we focus on the day to day and we don't dial things back. So a lot of times they're wasted because we'll push things down the road. We'll wait to deal with them, or we'll suppress them and not deal with them when they're relevant. And then once it grows to a monster that's too big to contain anymore, is when we finally deal with it. But now you have to deal with all of the stuff that went along with it. It's like if you think about it, for instance, right? You have a pile of you have some debris on the floor. You grab the broom, you sweep that debris. You can easily just sweep that up. What do? You decide I'm going to sweep the entire floor instead. The longer you push that pile down, the more debris you collect. And at the end, you're going to have a huge pile full of stuff rather than that small pile that you would have had just getting it up as you go. And I think that's the way that we deal with a lot of things because we don't prioritize this. We don't prioritize mental health. We don't prioritize emotional strength. Especially as men, we really don't take the time to invest in am I okay? Many of us, like
Yeah, that's
from my
that's
understanding,
pride.
the majority of us, we love talking about our families. We love our cars. We love our businesses. We love our jobs, and we invest all of our time into those things. And we build those things to become everything under the sun, and we don't prioritize us. Say we don't prioritize a good cigar and whiskey.
Cigar and
You know,
whiskey.
sometimes a good cigar and whiskey is us time. It's
Yeah,
to sit back and reflect time and say, this is
you know,
for this is for a job well done. This is grape juice, by the way. This
absolutely,
is for
absolutely. And even if you're not a smoker at all, just taking an opportunity to just blow one, take it easy, relax, get back in focus. I There's no problem with that at all.
I think the
No,
cigar and the wine could easily be a metaphor for just doing one of these. We it's almost like you feel ashamed to just sit back on the couch and do nothing. For my video game heads, some of these guys go and work hours on hours on hours and then come home and pick up a video game controller and get shamed for being lazy after doing it.
mm, mm,
That mental health space that you're getting that release, for some of us is going to go spend yeah. I mean, you got to
yeah,
understand that the universe revolves. Okay, let me be clear about this. I won't say the universe revolves around you, but your universe does. Your universe revolves around you because as the breadwinner, what you bring in helps everybody. When you go to work, when you fix the cars, when you go and acquire things, when you buy a home, everybody benefits from the things that you do. And this isn't a man or woman thing, it's whoever's producing. If you are the producer, your decisions affect the tribe. And what affects the tribe positively outwardly affects other tribes. So it's a whole little ripple effect based off of what you produce. So if you produce horrible children, those horrible children go out into the world, do horrible things, and it's a ripple effect of bad things to happen, all sprouting off of one central entity.
correct,
So the
correct,
same thing can apply for the good that you put out. You raise your children right. You give them good morals. You stay in there behind to make sure that they're executing on those things that you taught them to until it becomes habitual nature. And those things will start to reverberate as you go along. I produce concentric layers of defense. Listen, guess what? If I have a 97% accuracy and I train my kids to have 97% accuracy, I've done my job.
that's it. That's it. And I think that's a good topic to talk about as well. They ain't got to be today, but that whole, like, your actions affecting everything else around you and everybody else around you.
You know, at some point in
That
time,
was a good segue.
yeah. So now let's talk about this because we talked about prolonged suppression over periods of time. There's some things that I don't always talk about, but I like being very transparent about my life. I have been the giver friend for a very long time, and I haven't always had the means to be the giver friend. But I've always believed that if I have a little bit and you have nothing, we should both have a little bit. I should not sit on a pile while other people starve around me. You know, life taught me an extremely valuable lesson that I can't do anything for you until I can do for me. So you have to secure stuff for yourself to be self-sustaining in whatever means necessary before you start lending a helping hand out to everybody else.
Yeah, I know we talked about that before where, like you said, if you have enough and I got a little bit, then we got a little bit. Like after a while, it's gonna become draining that my little bit is always our little bit. And you can never give a little bit back.
I mean, the thing about it is that in respect to the type of relationships that you develop with people, when I start talking about waste of time, one of my waste of time has been trying to convince people that they can do for themselves great things. I spent a lot of time convincing people of their greatness and how they could be great, so much to the point to where I was investing more time in wanting to see other people flourish than myself. It took me until I got into my 30s to really come to grips with what I wanted to do with my life as a profession. I mean, just as far as what did I want to dedicate my life to, like I'm just now really coming into self when it comes down to what I want to dedicate my life to. Like what gives me the energy, what gets me focused, what gets me up in the morning, what makes me move. I'm just now learning this in my 30s. And when I look at people who are said, hey, you have a great talent, you should pursue this. Hey, you do this very well, you should pursue this. Hey, man, you have this, and this, you have this great skill, this great talent. I've invested to the point that my heart has bled over. And when I sit back and I look at the seeds that I tried to plant in these people, and I look at where these people are now, I wasted my time. So much so that when I look at myself in hindsight, all I can sit back and say to myself is, this whole time, you should have been looking in the mirror and telling yourself, hey, you have this skill, you have this talent, you have this greatness. Why don't you become great and be the example of what can be done rather than trying to empower others with no power?
Hmm. How does that work, man?
It works because of the fact that you're trying to validate your own feelings of worthlessness by trying to put something to other people. So you want to be proud of something that you gave somebody else because that is the minimum of your worth. That your worth is all predicated on this because none of you guys are producing anything. But maybe if I'm the positive link that sheds light on your greatness and you go out and be great, I can feel good about your greatness. I can at least have that to say, I was the one at those track meets. I was the one at those basketball games. I was the one at those political rallies. I was the one, I was the one, I was the one. It's like if I'm going to, let's say there's a politician that I'm into, like I'm really, really feeling what they're saying. And I say, okay, I'm not going to just vote, but I'm going to donate. You know, I'm not just going to donate. I'm actually going to go to this person's campaign and see how I can be involved. Maybe I can work on the street team. Maybe I can collect signatures. Maybe I can try to help them get on the ballot. Maybe I can work as the campaign manager. Maybe I can work this district and pass out flyers and talk to people. I can learn everything that there is and do the groundwork that needs to be done in order to get these politicians visibility. Or I could run and do it for myself because if I think that I got the ideas, then maybe I should do it myself. Maybe I should go out there and say, hey, sometimes the right answer is not in what you put behind somebody, but it's what you get out here and do. So my man Mike Sexton, to what he states, do something. You have to be active in some form of fashion in order to see any level of change that you want to see. You have to be active. And that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed, the fact that every time that I've ever tried to empower somebody, we were doing nothing.
So how do you keep the person that is doing, motivated and empowered, in check of their emotions and things of that nature, when they're constantly around, uh, energy suckers. Like, how do you keep that person wanting to stay in that light of, saying, I'm gonna make a change, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna blah blah blah, because it's gonna be draining at some point
Here's
when
how this
you're
goes.
constantly around couch potatoes and leechers and, lazy motherfuckers. Like, they got all these ideas. They got all these ideas and don't do nothing.
Here's the
All
thing.
this lip service, nothing.
Here's the thing. Something sparked the thought in me to say, hey, let me call up a group of my friends and family and have a men's group that's predicated to trying to empower and build bigger and better and stronger men. Something sparked that. It wasn't a meeting that I was sitting around having with a bunch of guys, and it wasn't that mythical billionaire that just so happened to gave me those words of wisdom that just sparked me into the right direction. I woke up one morning and said, it's time to do something. And in that action led to everything that has stemmed over the last year and change. What happens is a rose is going to be a rose no matter where it's planted. We didn't see blades of grass come up through concrete. Sometimes it's a difficult road, but if I'm looking at somebody who has the potential, the best thing I could do is be in a position to where what I bring to the table is more alluring than the Slavs.
Mm.
So my action needs to shine a light to say, I need to go that way. You are a voice that is representative of somebody. There's somebody that needs to hear you speak or need to watch you move, that your actions and your steps are what they need to hear in the way that they need to hear it, or what they need to see it the way that you do it. We're interconnected. So if me and Relentless Mikey, how we came together through a Facebook situation, back and forth through a mutual friend, and we had very like-minded understanding. We've been tight ever since.
Nice.
But something had to happen, and a reaction to that something that happened is what formed that relationship. And the mutual understanding of what's important and the goal at hand is what keeps it keeps it in line. But you know what the most important thing is? That he is always active and I'm always active. Because if I was dead in the water, nothing can grow.
Hmm.
Nothing can manifest from nothing. You know, I went through those phases of falling off the face of the earth, down in the dumps, don't want to talk to anybody. You know, even like that last one during the COVID situation when I just completely like had to push the reset button on life, changed my number, changed everything, got off social media, just fell off the face of the earth. Despite the fact that I garnered so much peace of mind from actually being able to wipe myself clean of all the incessant need of being on Front Street, I was inactive. I was inactive. To the eyes of those people who were accustomed to me being active, I became inactive.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, and I think that they go through those same, uh we just call them slumps. It's temporary, going through their own trials and tribulations. And you ain't the only one, man. It's been a time where I completely just went dark from Twitter and MySpace, and what I'm saying, all of that just went completely dark. So I can definitely relate to that, and I think a lot of other people can relate to that as well. So those that do, tend to hit these spells, yeah, failure is a lesson of success, and I don't even classify, as long as you keep moving, keep going, keep building, keep trying again. I don't classify that as a complete failure. You only fail when you absolutely just stop, just hang up the towel, throw it away, never go back to it. That's a failure. Uh, if Edison failed, what I'm saying, we wouldn't have light bulbs. Just throwing that out there. But um, I think that a lot of people can relate to that, man. And I think a lot of people really need to get out of this. And I can classify that as a form of toxic pride, and find someone that you can confide in and talk to. Get the story out, get the message out, get some feedback, and see how to build yourself back up. You know, everybody can't do it. You don't have to do it on your own. You have to do it by yourself.
And that actually leads me directly into the next point that I wanted to bring up without you even noticing. One of the biggest wastes of time, one of the biggest wastes of time, I'm energetic about this one. One of the biggest waste of time ever is thinking that being an army of one is effective. It is not effective when it comes down to the broad scope of what we do. When it comes down to building a community, when it comes down to building a network, many is always stronger than one. I would never go to war. Like, Rambo is a nice story. Rambo would have been picked off within 20 seconds of him walking into that jungle. You cannot walk in one person and think that you just got it like that. Bruce Lee is a cool story. 4 of them guys, 5 of them guys would have kicked his butt and killed that man in a real life situation. I like to believe in the hero rhetoric, but it's not. The whole thing about it is the two-sided, or the double-headed, the multi-headed hydra to the working together and building together thing is, you can't build with everybody. Most of us, we start off with close friends and family. And when it's time to get serious about something, you have to remember that everything that you start from scratch is like a newborn baby from the day of inception. The day that it becomes serious, it's like you holding on to a newborn baby. And people are not going to love the baby the way that you do. As you had a new baby, everybody is, oh, look how cute. I get to see the baby. But the more frequent that you see the baby, the less excited that you get about the baby, unless it's your baby. There's only a select few people that when they see your children, because they feel connected to you and the children, that they get more and more and more intertwined with the children. Well, the same thing is like a business. The same thing is like an organization. The same thing is like everything else. In the early inception stages, it's always exciting and alluring, but the allure wears off for people who are not truly invested. So you have to know and understand that when you see the signs on the wall that says that people are not as devoted or invested in this thing than you, do not be afraid to move on. It don't mean we not friends no more. It don't mean that you're not my favorite cousin no more. It just means we can't do business together. Just that simple. But like a newborn baby, when it comes to my baby, I'm emotional about it. Because I want you to love it the way I love it, because you see the benefit, you see the greatness in it. So you get emotional. And that emotion will cause you to lash out at people and to say things and to do things that are otherwise uncharacteristic of you, because men don't do well reacting in an emotional state. And that's where the relationships start to part ways. So you can't build with everybody. And when you find those people that you build with, that you do well with, once you start getting those people on board, consistency, Consistency, consistency. You got to stand on what you say what you mean what you say.
He wants you to clip that.
You clip it.
Yeah.
You
Stitch
clip
it.
it.
Clip
You
it and
you
stitch it.
you clip it. Throw it on TikTok and you tell everybody where it came from. Matter of fact, you be in here next week so you can talk about it. Tell us what it meant to you, brother. Care if it's your birthday.
Absolutely.
But on a serious note, man, when you realize who your tribe is and what your tribe is, you have to build with that tribe and you have to stay consistent. I can't introduce somebody to an idea that I say that I believe in wholeheartedly, and nobody can outwork me in that idea. Nobody can outwork me in that idea because if you don't believe in it with your whole heart, they won't. The last part of that multi-headed hydra, which is the easiest yet most hard part for people to understand. Sometimes you have to know when you are not the most competent person in that specific area and when to fall back and let somebody else have the reins.
That's a big one. Too many Chiefs, not enough Indian syndrome.
Because you're emotionally attached to this baby, this idea, this thing, this situation, whatever it may be, that you can't remove yourself out the driver's seat and let somebody else drive. So therefore, I'm going to drive from here to Chicago when I got an extra driver with me just because of the fact that I want to be able to have the accolade of saying that I drove from here to Chicago. So I'm willing to put everybody's life at risk knowing that I'm tired just to be able to say that I made it from here to Chicago. Sometimes you have to understand that your idea is not always the best idea. And sometimes the people around you that you have fought tooth and nail to empower are better than you at certain things. And your pride, word of the day, started to feel like Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
Their pride could turn around and bite you in the behind. It could cause people to not believe in your leadership. It could cause people to not look at you the same way because the version of you that used to be so solid and so consistent is now taking a nasty turn because of the fact that, well, how do you say you want people to be extraordinary men and never give them an opportunity to be extraordinary? Get out of their driver's seat. Let somebody else have it. Go ahead, Midas.
That was good. I don't know what to say to that.
Oh yeah, listen, you got something to say to everything. You gonna
I
say
don't
something.
know. I don't know
Oh,
what to say to
you
that,
gonna
bro.
talk
That
you
was
gonna
that.
talk today.
No, today is Jones Day. Like straight up. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that this message that was given out is definitely beneficial and useful for those that really need to hear this. And to Anthony's point, like I think there's a lot of clip points in here breaking down certain things because a lot of people may not know that they're in a toxic pride situation. A lot of people may not know that them trying to build something and bring other people on board that they don't know why they're lashing out or they don't understand like the whole process of what's going on behind their feelings and other people that they trying to bring in and what they got going on and what they thinking and feeling. And I think this will help them understand that. So yeah, well said.
All right, so I'm about to invite Mr. Zans up to come and spend a couple minutes with us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, I mean, I just don't know what to add on top of that. Like, I mean, the spaghetti's done. The ribs are done.
So you mean you ain't got no sauce in them ribs?
I ain't got. We don't need no more sauce. Any
Man, you
more
mean
sauce? We don't need no more sauce. It's enough sauce. When I bite into it, the sauce is on my face. I look like Joker. Yes. The ribs are done. The bone is falling off.
Ain't nothing over. Just give me something to drink.
Where Mr. Zan's at.
I just went ahead and sent him the link. He should be up shortly. I would say like this, more so than anything, man, is just understanding that the reason why we titled this "Why You Shouldn't Waste Your Time on Stuff" is because we've lived it, we've done it, we're continuing to live it, continuing to do it. You know, Midas, he's been running his own business for 10 plus years. His business is older than his oldest child.
Yeah.
He's still learning stuff about the nuances, the ins and outs, the pluses and minuses, the good and the bad of being a business owner. And you never stop learning. In his life, you are a lifetime student. But what happens with most of us in a lot of these settings is that we don't always realize our situations and how those situations affect everything. But before I continue, I'm going to introduce a featured guest of ours, Mr. Relentless Mikey.
Hey y'all.
What's going
Hey,
on?
what's going on, buddy?
Oh,
Glad to
just
have you back
another.
on the show, man.
Yeah, good to be back. It's another day in paradise.
Oh, do
Yeah,
tell.
I no, I mean, it's snowing, it's cold, it's taxed, it's rights being taken away daily in this state. I mean, it's
Man,
another
here
day in
too.
paradise.
Here too. Illinois is such a huge surveillance state and trying to do anything and everything they can to extract and extort money out of their citizens.
Every
Crazy.
day in many way.
You know, despite the Bears hat, I live in Florida. I don't know what those problems are like anymore.
What are you talking about? It's like 50 degrees down there.
See, 50 degrees for me, I guess, will be the equivalent of 10 degrees to you. However, I would prefer my 50 to your 10 any day.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Oh gosh, great topics today. There's just a lot to draw from this. And to to Michael's point, there wasn't a lot more that could be said on top of what you just last said. That was well stated. But I mean, we to as men have to continue moving forward. There's been this pervasive narrative about what man is supposed to be, what the expectations are supposed to be, how they are supposed to act or not act. And to me, this has become a bit of an epidemic, where men are really not as in tune with who or what they are as, say, they have been over the last 30 years. Pride can be, in a lot of instances, like I said in the comments, can be toxic depending on its application. I think it all depends on what it's like. It's like a woodworker, okay? You have tools. It depends on what you do with the tools. You could build a birdhouse, or you could build something that will destroy you and everybody else around you. So it's all up to you what you do with the tools that you have and what you decide to build or destroy.
I agree. I
Yeah, I
think
agree
that
with that.
I think that a lot of it too is that so many men these days have been predicating their understanding of manhood off of what they believe that women want versus what nature is telling you that you need to do. What does the social market tell you that your responsibility is? If you've seen a man do the same thing that a woman does, will he receive the same accolades? Like if you were to live off a woman, would you be able to say that, oh, that's just part of what they do? She goes to work, he stays at home. How is that viewed amongst the greater consensus of your peers? It's not viewed favorably. So there's a social aspect of letting you know that there's a requirement that you have as a man. Now, that requirement may not be as broad as what it was back in, say, the 1940s, 1950s, but you still have a requirement to provide something. If you don't feel that gut feeling when you have little to provide, I question your upbringing. I question a lot of things, but one thing is for sure is that I don't rank you at all amongst any man that I know. Children are taken care of. Women are taken care of. Animals are taken care of. And men are the ones that go out there and do the taking care of. It's just
Mostly,
how I know
yes.
it to be.
I mean, that's just what it is mostly. And going back to the woodworking concept, um, I think that it also really depends, and this also can, stem from mental health, mental stability as well. And
Hmm.
and that's something that we definitely need to make sure that we're checking and making sure that our people is okay and doing well, because that same woodworker that built that birdhouse, mentally they could have something, sinister behind that birdhouse where if a bird go in and they hit this spring and then it pop open and then a whole bunch of nails and all that explode out of it, like we got to make sure that we checking on our people and making sure that they mentally okay. You know what I'm saying? To keep them, at most do the best that we can to make sure that a mental state like that isn't brewing in their head.
I think
So
Totally
yeah,
that
agree on
they
that.
great. Yeah, they great with the tools. They like you said, they can build something that could be the most beautiful thing in the world and it's gonna benefit him, benefit society, or they can build something that's gonna destroy society. And it's all
Right.
with that mental state of what they're doing with that product, with that project.
But
I
the
think
key
what
is to
coincides with
continue
that.
building that. You have to keep building that house, right? You have to keep building that whatever project it is you're working on, which is your life. The minute you stop building it is the minute it never gets finished. And so you're going to have, you're going to pound a nail into the wood, and you probably hit the nail wrong, and it's going to bend or elbow on you, and you just have to figure out how to either replace the nail, fix the nail, whatever you need to do. But you have to keep building, because if you don't keep building, that's when you start dying as a a woodworker.
Yeah.
Um, and to that, to Mike's earlier point with keeping moving forward. I've been in the political game for, gosh, near 20 years, and I've honed my craft, and I've now focused in what I do specifically to knocking on every politician's door that I can to not just have them own up to what their oath was, but also to target at child trafficking, human trafficking. That's my thing. That's my birdhouse. Um, and so it's important to keep moving and keep on, honing your craft, because your first birdhouse is never going to be the most amazing, beautiful thing you will ever see. But how many times are you going to build a birdhouse and learn more as you go, and deal and get into some of the intricate work, and before you're building this like little mini bird condo, and the thing is just and that's what your craft is all about, and keep moving forward and keep learning and keep being the man you need to be.
Yeah,
You
the
have to.
innovation and cultivation of new ideas and taking things to the next level, it comes in the journey. Like I was just talking to my brother last night, and it was like in the journey is where you learn. It's not when you get to the finish line. And then even when you get to the proverbial finish line, I could be a doctor or I could be the best doctor.
Hmm.
That starts once you get there. So I can be the most mediocre, C average right across the board, or I can be the best to ever do it. That's all embedded in who you are as a person, who you are as a man, what's inside of you to make that decision to say that I'm going to be competitive. I'm going to compete. I'm going to be the best version that there is. One thing that I do think that, along with what we were talking about in regard to mental health, is we got to take the stigma out of talking about it.
Mhm.
Men have been taught to suffer in silence. And it's like most women that I speak to, for whatever reason, they don't believe me when I tell them this. And I told them there's two reasons why we've been taught to suffer in silence. One of those reasons, and guys, pay attention. Anybody that's listening to this, pay attention. There are two reasons why men have been taught to suffer in silence. Reason number one is because early on we were always ingrained, it was always ingrained and embedded into us that the world is cold and it's tough and it will chew you up and spit you out if you don't have a backbone. To the women, this is for you. The reason why it's so hard for us to be vulnerable to women is because you guys have a bad habit of weaponizing our weaknesses. And once you cross that line and you use something that we told you in confidence against us, it's hard for us to ever trust you again. That door is very fragile. And when it is closed, it is closed. Well, I'm never going to tell you about my day. I'm never going to tell you about what went
Yeah.
on. Why? Because I know that after that one experience that I had, all it took was one time for me to let me know that you're more of an enemy to me than anybody else in the street, because you are the only one with the keys to hurt me and you will use at a moment's notice.
Yep.
That's what you taught me.
Yep. Not only is that door closed, but 2x4s went up, chains went on the
Mhm.
door, that
I
metal
got
bar went behind the door, everything.
I got a
You
dog
cannot,
watching
it's
the
never
door.
opening again. It's
Yeah.
never
A,
opening again.
a
Yeah,
pit
it's
bull that
true.
you feed a can of Vienna sausage, so it's always hungry.
That's a never-ending bowl of food right there.
Man.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, we have all been, as we've grown up in, in different ways, we've all, for the most part, received similar lessons. May have the delivery's been different. But I think that, yeah, it has been, that, growing up, you got to be a guy and you got to be tough and you got to stand up and you got to be principled and you have to stand up for what's right and you need to, do all these, hold up all these expectations. And now what's interesting is how those societal norms have been deconstructed at an exponential rate. And it's just important for all of us to make sure that we are self-actualized. You can continue to be the man you need to be in your life, whatever that means, to your kids, to your wife, to your family, to your friends, in your work environment, if in your sports or whatever it is you're involved with. You can continue to do that, and you don't have to subject yourself to this deconstructing societal norm, because that has generational consequences to your kids, to the people around you who are younger, who are watching what's happening. So I think it's important to uphold yourself as a worthy man. I think it's important.
I like the terminology, the worthy man, because at the end of the day, it's like you don't get the top positions just because you showed up. You don't get the top opportunities just because you showed up. Prior to recent history, the leaders of countries were also leaders in battle. So after they've proven themselves, their scars from battle from epic wars, the stories that were told, the mythos, what was it? The mythos that was created around them in battle is what got them elected to be leaders. And
Mhm.
only in recent history has it become to where you have world leaders who have never served in the military.
Yeah.
But even with that being said, being deemed worthy could be an educational accolade. It could be a wartime accolade. It could be almost any accolade, but it all boils down to the fact that nobody remembers the person who didn't do anything.
Yeah. That accolade could be anything. And it doesn't have to be something that's given by somebody else to you. It has to be what you within want your life to be. If you want to be that know nothing, do nothing, and sit on the sideline, watch, the TV and and regurgitate everything they tell you, then you're not going to get very far in life. You're not. You're just not. You have to continually reinvent yourself and excel at what you do. And like you were saying, with being a doctor, be the best doctor. And then when you're the best doctor, hone in on one part of being a doctor, and then be good at that, and then be the best at that. And then be the guy who trains or teaches other great doctors how to do that intricate niche thing. You have to continually evolve and move forward. You have to.
Spark the thought that's going to set forth the next great innovation.
Yeah.
And I think that requires focus, which means follow one course until success. And I think that if you can hone in on that and stay on that path, I think being to the doctor the doctor concept, being the best doctor, honing in on a specific niche, that's going to require focus. Lots of it. Mental
Mm-hmm.
health.
Mental health. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind talking about it. Like I deal with depression and anxiety. Now that's something I deal with on a daily basis. That was something,
The Extraordinary Man is here for that.
I
I mean, this is any time. I mean, that's the chat group. You can hit me on the phone. That's any dude. We're open.
mm-hmm.
This is what we're here for.
And that was something that was caused by a previous employer. It's not something I grew up with. And so it was something that up until 2015, I never had to deal with in my entire life. I was born in 73. So from 1973 to 2015, never had this issue. 2015 happened, that particular role and job occurred. Things occurred at that job that caused that to be an issue that I now have to deal with. And still deal with. Not daily. But it does. I know the signs. I know those triggers, and I deal with those triggers as they come about, and I don't put myself into positions that are going to amplify those issues. But it's important to note that. And I went and saw a therapist, and I don't mind saying that.
All right, well, guys, I appreciate y'all showing up to this today. Mike, thank you for bringing yourself here today. We are nearing our hour. Well, we actually just exceeded our hour. First and foremost, thanks to the panel. 3 mics in one panel. How
Right?
ironic is that?
That's your daily dose of Mike.
There you go.
I like that. That we might have to coin
Pick
that
your
phrase
mic
at
3
some
times a
point.
day.
That's what she said.
All right, so again, thank you guys for coming to the next episode and installment of The Extraordinary Men. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already, youtube.com/Extraordinary Men. Also, Facebook group, you guys can go ahead and like the page. We try to post up within that page daily and make sure that we have little clips and everything that is showing you what we have to come pretty soon. We will be starting a mailing list very soon to let you guys know about certain topics and certain things that we'll be discussing going forward. If you want to join that mailing list, please provide your email on any social media. You can find me on every social media at Phil Jones That's either Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm pretty sure you can just find me there as Michael Jones, whatever you look into. We appreciate all the time that you guys spend with us. You could have been doing anything this morning, but you decided that you want to spend it with us. Do you guys have any closeout comments that y'all want to share before we go?
No, really just what you just said. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell. Any like, any shares appreciated. We are working diligently trying to grow this thing. It is very beneficial and useful for a lot of men. As Mikey down there mentioned, he depression and things of that nature. We're here for that.
Hmm.
You can reach out to anybody in the Facebook group and have a conversation and get you back on track or get you any type of attention that you need to make sure that you live in the healthiest life. So
Right.
you can also catch me on the Black Pills Reactions channel, where I'll be reacting to a lot of various different relationship style topics. And that's what I got for you guys. Thank you for stopping in this morning.
And Mikey, talk about the podcast, please, for the human trafficking.
Yeah. First off, buy some merch, people.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do something small today, share this to 5 people. Do something small and then build from there. Second, Dark to Light 1111, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble. That's our podcast, Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. We talk all things trafficking, not just from just the depressing videos, but we also talk about advocacy. We talk about education. We bring in experts. We talk to leaders of organizations and what they are doing. We talk about legislation and what we're going to do to change that and close loopholes. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and sometimes that requires a little bit of time from people, making a phone call, sending a letter, donating $20, showing up to a rally. So there's a lot of things we can provide to the audience if they are willing to help us protect children.
I really appreciate if you can share that link. I believe you did before, but share the link in the Facebook group, and then also send reminders as to when the show is going live, so that the extraordinary men can be present and accounted for with dealing with this type of situation. So make sure that you're doing that for us so we can get involved.
On it.
All right, much love and gratitude, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we're out. Peace.
Peace.